and then
I'm gonna stop eating. Am I stopping eating?
oh, that's up to you guys.
I mean, we like a bit of AMSO.
People
AS.
No, that eating gets the most complaints.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why Tic Tacs?
It caused quite the fuss.
Who
What do they say?
People just don't like. People just see it as unprofessional. By people, me.
Yeah.
When I'm sat on a podcast with you, are we recording?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep you lot mainly just on a why.
Okay,
All right,
cool.
I'm gonna
Away you
stop
go.
eating.
Sorry.
I'm a
That's our introduction.
I
is
didn't
me
know this. People are upset when I eat Tic Tacs on the podcast.
Yeah, because it sounds like porcelain against glass. Like what the hell?
That just sounds fancy though.
For an hour, you couldn't have a Tic Tac.
You're making a point, and I was like, oh, okay, Elliot's talking, he's monologuing. Let me use this time to get some energy. Quick sugar
Not
burst.
listen, not jump in with
Long
something.
monologue. That's a long friggin'. Oh my god, I'm flagging. I need a Tic Tac.
Like, also, I swallow them sometimes, like they're pills.
You swallow them like they're pills.
Yeah, then
What
just
do you pretend they're treating?
just boredom.
Just
No,
the emptiness inside.
You're hearing a new voice on the podcast. So we didn't introduce our guest. We have a wonderful, amazing comedian guest today. Her name is Ria Lina in the building. Round of applause for Ria Lina, lustrous guest in the podcast studio. How you doing, Ria? You well?
For a Monday morning at 11 a.m. I am well. Do you know what I walked here?
You walked here
Yeah, I
because
walked here from
Ria
the
is
centre of town.
rare in that she lives in central London.
One
I
of
do.
the
I
few
live in the middle of
people.
town, and you
Who
said
the
Vauxhall.
fuck lives in
Sun was shining. I
central
went
London?
to get my steps in.
What's it like living in central London?
Well, I mean, it's
You live in a
central,
top
so
shop.
it's crazy. I do. I live. The empty one, the empty top shop that no longer exists. But we're hoping to move into BHS. We're just
You're
negotiating.
getting turfed out
that.
by some American candy store that's opening up.
Every time, just like another American candy store, and then an ice cream store,
Such a
and then-
racket, innit?
and then a makeup store. But it's good. It's great living in central London, except sometimes you just want to go out for milk, and there's a million tourists.
This is true.
Do you know the shops that
The helicopters as well. Every
Right.
time there's a protest, helicopters everywhere. Can't podcast from home.
Is there a thing where you every shop you go to, there's like the central London markup? You know, like if you buy a pack of cigarettes in central London, they're 20 quid. If you buy like just a bottle of water, it's £1.80 or something. There's the central London markup.
Well, first of all, I use the tap for my water.
Okay, yeah. But like for the milk, it must be. But I'm sure there's a central London markup on tap water as well.
Well, the biggest thing is there's no big supermarkets. So, I love food and things like that. And you go and then just go sandwiches, potted fruit and salads, and and packets of paracetamol. Like that's all you can get at every
That's your
supermarket
regular-
here. That's my diet.
So where do you have to go?
Well, actually, there is a big Waitrose at the Brunswick, which is quite nice.
big
But you can't do that on a weekly. That's like a special Christmas run or
Waitrose.
something.
I do
That's
like
not
a
regular.
Waitrose. When I started going Waitrose, I've been to
You go on Waitrose now, bro?
Waitrose a few times. Man.
What are you getting from Waitrose?
Oh, bro, I'm going bankrupt because of that place.
I love their central aisle, because in Lidl you can get like a snowplow in the central aisle, and in Waitrose you can just get a mansion.
Yeah.
It's like
Stick it in the
I like
John Lewis in the one I go in as well.
you go into John Lewis.
There's a John Lewis bit in there. Oh, it's fucking good, man. I walk through that Waitrose, and I always think, man, I wish I just had the money to do this one day while doing it, making myself. And I'm like, I wish I could just do this without the guilt of like, what are you doing?
There is a conscientiousness to shopping at Waitrose, isn't there? You really go, oh, do I need this though? Do I really? And things that you can buy elsewhere. You're looking at the strawberries; they look great, but you go, oh, but they're a third of the price in Tesco.
I would say though, the thing is with in there, if you go midday, like some of the meat deals are good, and also the markup on the meat isn't as crazy as it is. Like when you go Tesco or Sainsbury's now, I'm feeling the cost of living when I go in there. I'm like, oh, okay, that's gone up.
What do you think it says about society? They got the locks on the meat now. They got the
Had that for a while.
security tag on the meat.
That's awful, isn't it?
Yeah.
That sounds like some kind of weird. In one hand, it's Dickensian, and on the other hand, it's some kind of, what are they? Dystopian.
Yeah.
It's like we're living in our own dystopian future.
If I was a cow though, like
Cut that out. Is that all right? Can we cut that out? Or
We don't cut anything.
we don't cut nothing. That's it.
These people know what it is. They have
I
to
should
listen
have
to
known.
me.
Elliot Steele's podcast. There's no editing.
Yeah,
There's no censorship.
There's been a couple of times. There's been things where people have messaged and gone, "Hey, you've really we can't leave that in," but it's been court worthy.
yeah.
It's been court worthy. But then, but they have to listen to me say and do my horrific laugh into the mic every week, so you're gonna be fine. Like,
Okay.
These people.
So if
I've
I
ruined
aim
these-
not to be funny, you won't laugh. It's all good.
Yeah. If I've ruined these people's eardrums with my fucking terrible laughter. Like
It's
I
not
laugh like-
true. People like to hear
You
high-pitched
enjoying
laughter
yourself.
on the pod.
Pardon?
They like to hear you
people
enjoying
like to hear
yourself. It
enjoyment.
makes a change from all the fights you.
That's why people watch porn. It's because other people enjoying themselves. Is what they
Is that
get.
what you? Is that,
Is
why
that
you
what
watch
you
porn?
tell yourself is happening?
You're watching Joy.
Yeah, this
You
woman's.
watch some people enjoy themselves.
Yeah, this woman's here because she's just got she just likes to make people smile.
She's got a love for life.
This guy's here because things are just going so well for him. He wants to share it with the world.
So pleased to bring that joy and love to all the teenage boys and incels around the world.
As if that's the only market for porn. It's the highest market for porn. But everybody.
Michael, I'm beginning to understand why you swallow Tic Tacs.
Okay, but I was saying about meat. Go.
No, actually, Elliot was saying about meat
Oh, he was
and the
talking
markup. But
yeah.
you were talking about meat?
I was
the
talking about
lock
meat
on it.
because I said they put the locks on the meat now.
Oh, you started with
I
I do
did the
apologize.
security tags on
I
the
do
meat.
apologize.
Guess what they're doing now? You can buy takeaways on Klarna now. Do you know that loan where you can get a little loan to buy stuff? You can do that with takeaways now.
Is that what Klarna is?
Yeah.
I've seen it sometimes at a checkout. I don't know what that is.
Do you know, like when you say like, oh, you can pay in monthly installments, 4 monthly installments. You can do that on takeaways now.
Wait, so you can pay like 20 quid on a Domino's
And
pizza
pay
and
it back.
pay
That's
7 quid a
horrendous
month?
that we're at that
Five
point. That
pound a
we
month.
are. That we're. I mean, do you remember what was those?
So bad.
Every day, what were those loans that they got rid of? You
Oh,
used
Wonga
to
and
see
that.
Wonga and
and all the
stuff, yeah.
payday loans, but they got rid of those because they were so
Yeah, the
bad.
markup.
But that sounds like, isn't Klarna that? I mean, you paying interest on your Klarna payment?
Wonga and those companies, those were like huge in 2008, and I guess that was post, like
Yeah.
the first financial.
And then they banned
that-
them.
then they
Yeah, I
banned
think as
So-
well because their money, well, until recently, the markup on inflation. So I think they must have had something where I might be talking out my arse here, but
Before Klarna sues us, is there a markup on a Klarna payment, or is it? There must be. They
be
must make
interest.
money in some way, but they're not doing something crazy. Like it does sound helpful.
If they sue us, we'll pay.
You'll pay the
their
interest.
installments.
plan.
Yeah.
Okay,
They use their
that's very handy
use
actually.
their plan. But like, I feel like it is indicative of society is not in a
I mean,
best of place right now.
No, it sounds like they've been created to fill a gap that everyday people need, which is great. But it's awful that that gap needs to be filled.
Wait, so that's a good. Are they doing a service? Obviously
Well,
not,
that's
they're
the
not,
question,
They're
isn't
not
it?
doing it out of the good of their heart, obviously. But
It's there to make money. And if you have money, you can make money. When people are poor and stuff, it's very easy to make money off them quickly, especially when it comes to like loaning. You know, there's no bigger markup in the world than loaning stuff to somebody and getting it back. You know, and rich people do it all the time. But mega wealthy people never spend their money. They always borrow money, pay it, improve their credit score so they can borrow more money to make more money. Whereas when you're poor and you borrow money, you're not borrowing money to make money. You're borrowing money to
Live.
to get essentials. So that's one of the big things with wealth inequality is you do the same stuff as a rich person, but the outcome of it, you can't go to the, it's hard for any of us to go to the bank and go like, we need all this money so we can do this to make money. They're like, no, but the minute a rich person wants to go, you can have as good a business plan. They're like, yeah, we'll give you the money.
That's what Trump does, and that's what's insane is the man actually has no money.
Yeah.
He has no money.
brand.
And yet he lives as if he does.
how does that work?
Because you just borrow and then pay back with this
Well, you
and pay
just have
back
to
with
be
that.
like really
I'll
believable.
tell you how it works. It's the same way that you know how some people get booked all the time, and everyone's like, but they're not funny, but
Yeah.
they keep getting booked.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Really, they just have a lot of credit in the bank.
Well, no, it's. I think it's a community. It's a collective illusion, isn't it? We've all decided as a community that that person is worth.
They must have been funny.
So Trump had money at times,
Yeah.
but didn't have money at other times, and so he just maintains the illusion of money. And people go, well, of course it's Trump. Of course we'll lend into that brand.
Yeah, he's Harry Maguire of
yeah,
politics or financial world.
it's a footballer. He's not very good.
Sorry, who?
He's a footballer who.
No, what was the name?
Harry Maguire.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he basically is.
He's not good.
No, it's now become bullying. Like it's
But he's like the captain of Man United, and he plays for England. So you see him, and you're like, well, he must be good to have been this high up. But he's never been visibly good to people's eyes. So it's like, where's it coming from? Do you know what I mean?
But he's the captain of Man United?
Captain. So
Yeah.
there must.
Yeah, but Man United's not what it was.
no. There we go.
Ria knows that, and you're not a.
Yeah, I know that,
You know the
and I have
football.
nothing to do with football. It's my sister's team, though, so I've had
Really?
her hold her hair back while she cries and vomits.
I've always been interested. What's your background?
My background.
Your background. Not trying to. This is not customs. This is not deportation.
I'm jumping out this conversation.
Okay.
now.
I can ask this. Elliot can
You want
ask.
me to take off my shoes?
No.
Put all my liquids in the tray?
It's good. It's good. It's good. I didn't ask you to bring
How deep
any.
we going here? How deep
This
we
is a
going?
random. No one did that. This is a random search.
I didn't ask you to bring any documentation.
Have I been randomly selected in the way that you are always randomly selected for a stop
This
and
is-
search?
Well, look, we can
And
ask
Elliot
each other.
never is?
Just on that, one of the greatest bits of white privilege I've ever had was at an airport. Was where the guy took my bag on a tray and he just went, "Any bombs in here, sir?" And I went, "Oh, just the one." And we both laughed. And I told the story to like a bunch of comics, and some of them like Brown and stuff were like, "What?
Yeah.
you can do that?" I was like, me and the guy were just laughing about it at an airport. And then that was the big one of those moments where you're like, no, it is very different being white.
And the guy in the turban is being walked away. He's just looking back like, what the hell, man? That's crazy. But you did
Yeah,
talk
we're
about.
going to miss that guy.
Yeah.
He didn't survive the explosion.
But you talk about it a bit in your stand-up. You got German heritage.
I do.
You have Filipino heritage.
Yes.
Is there any other mixes in there?
Well, genetically, I'm Filipino and German.
That's a good mix.
But thank you. I'm quite pleased with it.
Mm.
And then my mother was raised as an American
Okay.
by a GI who adopted her after, because the GIs were in the Philippines during the war, and then after the war they came in. And then she came, and then they adopted her and took her back to the States. And now my parents are both Dutch.
What? How did that happen?
Yeah, that was
We
a
moved
curveball.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
okay,
We moved.
fair
Well, I grew up there, and we moved there, and they stayed there, and now they're Dutch.
Would you do Who Do You Think You Are?
Totally.
You would.
I would, because I think there's some. I think it'd be fascinating because on my dad's side, his dad was a medical assistant on the Eastern Front, and also down in the Crimea and things like that. So there's a book that was written by his boss, Peter Bam, The Invisible Flag, which is all about their time on the Eastern Front. So I think that would be quite interesting. And then on my mother's side, they were involved in my great grandfather was involved in politics and things like that, and also trade with China. So my great grandmother had a slave.
Okay.
Had a slave that was given to her as a little girl. So as a little girl, she was given another little girl as a slave, and that woman just basically slept chained to the bottom of her bed.
Oh
until
my
my
God.
great grandmother.
And you want to delve further into that?
Well, I'm not saying I condone it.
Why would you make that public?
I'm not saying because I think it's a fascinating. We hear slavery is something that we think of as a historical thing, and it isn't. It's actually almost worse now. There are more people in working slavery now than there ever were back when we heard about
So
it.
we should
when
just-
we think about slavery. So I think it's about bringing light to it. It's
And
about going. It's still going on.
And we should just like redo it again or something like. I don't know. We all get.
Are you
slave.
volunteering?
I'd go for.
Are you volunteering to be Michael's slave?
I would be a slave. I would make a terrible.
Oh, it'd be awful.
Just remember, when he's filming you, you're enjoying it. Okay, you're enjoying it.
I would be an awful. I would be.
Work for the Tic Tac. Work for the Tic Tac. Come
The
on.
only slave to call into HR. I feel like it'd be terrible.
I complained that I had to be at a studio at 11 today. Imagine me. What?
Clean.
I have to wash what part of you?
I would be awful.
But how can I tell when it's clean?
So you're not nervous about finding out about the German side?
No.
No?
But
All good on that side?
my grandfather he was a medic. They
Okay.
helped, and the medics helped
Okay.
everybody.
Germans had medics.
Oh.
Germans they did have medics, but also he was in the army, not the SS.
Okay.
The army, even though they were fighting on the Eastern Front against the Russians, were not pro. He himself per se was not pro any of the bullshit.
They just got sort of swept up in the.
They did, but
Yeah.
they, and I think that's the great thing about the invisible flag is that if someone's hurt, you help them,
Yeah.
and so I can sleep comfortably knowing that I come from a line of people that went, what the fuck is going on?
Sometimes I wonder that, talking about philosophically, if I was born into a certain time, and certain movements going on, where would I stand? Do you know
Well,
what I mean?
there are movements now that we can pin you to. Like, where do you stand on? There's all sorts of cultural
Pin me
wars
to
going on.
like pin me to something where in 60 years time people are gonna be looking at me like, how could you stand?
I'm
by?
not going to pin you. It's up to you to pin yourself.
I think it's going to be eating meat within the next couple hundred years. If we survive everything that's going on,
Yeah.
eating meat will be.
So they're gonna look. My grandkids are gonna be like, you ate meat.
Not necessarily, maybe, but I think people are going to look at the way we farmed, the way we treated animals, and go like battery farming chickens, pigs
Fossil
being,
fuels,
yeah,
if
people.
we're still around.
Pardon.
Fossil fuels as well.
Fossil fuels, pigs being grown in like cages to the point where they're bursting out of it and then killed for pay. People are going to look at that and go, "You fucking monsters!" And you all sat round and you ate that, and I'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, I did." It was a different time.
I ate it for you.
It was different.
You know what I think that vegans should do, which I think would be a really smart campaign, because watching dogs and cats use buttons to communicate in English with us, it's completely changed how.
That's a
You,
thing.
are you kidding me? Do you know the Chatty Lab? There are buttons. Oh my gosh, where's my? Okay, we can cut this bit out. I know
Can
we
we
don't cut anything.
Can we get
but-
can we get it up on the
you-
thingy on the screen?
Do
if
you have
that's okay?
Instagram?
Or are they on YouTube or something? We could get up.
What are we looking up?
We're looking up the Chatty Lab.
And these are animals that are talking to people.
So they have a set of buttons.
See what can happen on the internet when you don't just use it for porn, Michael. You can
Yeah.
find out amazing things.
Use it for joy.
Look at this. Look at this. Oh no, that's an early. That was when they were babies. So,
That's just
okay.
a dog.
It is a dog, but these buttons.
Maybe
Okay, put it
Mike,
towards the.
Yeah, hang on. Let's try and find a good one. So this is. Let's try that one. I don't know. I haven't seen it. But the dog has buttons that it can talk with.
Okay, this is.
Put it to the microphone, mate.
Okay.
Yes, I'm home now. Mommy, home now.
Okay, there's a dog.
There's loads of buttons.
Yeah.
Home. Home now. Oh, do you smell something? I went to PetSmart.
It's not. That's just her pressing the buttons.
Yeah,
no,
this
I'm
is a
trying-
lady.
There's ones where they do go. I have to find
Okay.
Get to know me button edition. Let's try that one.
We shouldn't be playing God like this.
Yeah.
Oh, for goodness sake.
I don't think.
I don't know what you just showed us.
Yeah, that was just a woman pressing buttons in front of a dog. What the
Yeah,
fuck
I know,
was that?
I know.
I'd
I
rather
agree.
watch porn. I'm not gonna lie. I could probably
I thought
find
you were
that in
going to
porn.
show me like the Stephen Hawking of dogs coming in on a thingy, but I don't. But do you?
Yeah, I'd eat that dog. That's
Do you
not
do that
impressive,
thing where like are you an animal lover? Yeah.
I love her, yes, in a way, but I guess not in the way that other people are. I'm going to finish my point. You know what? Someone else needs to find it. If I knew, I would have prepped this, but you didn't send me anything to prep.
This is a
your
conversation.
This is your fault, Michael.
This is your
How dare
fault.
you not look into the future?
I know that there are people listening who know what I'm talking about. So there are all sorts of dogs and cats. They have those big button sets, but they build them incrementally. So the Chatty Lab has one of the biggest button pads that I've seen, where and I've seen videos where it goes in and just goes, "Go out now, want to play," and it talks to you and it says, "This is what I want." And there are cats that do them, and the more that you go, we can communicate. And that chimpanzees and things are capable of communication and the rest of it. If vegans did that, my point was, if vegans did that with pigs or cows or horses and demonstrated how much intelligence and how much these animals can communicate, then people would go, "Oh yeah, no, I can't eat. We don't eat dogs. Would you eat a dog? We don't eat dogs and cats."
I don't. I find it weird when we get all uptight about people eating dog. I think it's a huge. I always think I eat meat. I can understand if like vegans, like if Cole or someone like that was to be like, eating dogs, but I wouldn't eat a dog out of choice. But I don't get to say what is and isn't disgusting about eating meat because I eat meat. Some people, eat tarantula. I wouldn't. But then people
Quite
eat
crunchy.
crab.
It's crunchy.
Have you eaten tarantula?
I haven't, but I've seen it. I've seen
Really?
it eaten. Yeah, you can just fry it because it's it's got the shell
Yeah.
and then a little bit of meat on it, and they fry it.
Oh,
Fry it up
fuck
and they-
that.
Well, I watch a lot of Anthony Bourdain.
I love Anthony Bourdain.
He,
And
seems
he
to-
eats tarantula.
he just goes across cultures
tries
and will try
everything.
anything.
Yeah.
They once they stabbed a goat in the neck
Yeah.
in Ethiopia.
What?
And then they poured out some blood and then they mixed it with milk and he drank it.
Yeah.
It was, said it tastes
But
like
did
blood.
the
with
goat survive? The goat was just crying.
The goat bled out, but like, cause it's like some Ethiopian villager. They know how to cut it in a way where the goat probably they don't even know it's bleeding. Do you know, like they say, when you get stabbed, you don't even know you've been stabbed because of the adrenaline, and it's just pouring out.
I think the
don't know
goat knew
it?
it had been stabbed. I think the goat was like, why the fuck am I bleeding into the
Yeah.
milk that I've made for my child?
That is
and why
pretty-
is,
Oh
why
my
is this
gosh, it was
white
goat
dude?
milk as
Why
well.
is this white dude licking his lips in front of me about to drink?
Why
my
is this camera crew to film this?
Why are people getting it in shot for me?
God.
imagine that directing. Someone's directing my death.
Hey, can we do that take again?
Yeah,
actually?
yeah. Hey, can we get a bit more? Can we make it suffer a bit more? Just it looks good on camera. Like, oh my
Two goats,
god.
1 cup. Ugh.
So you're a scientist.
Well, that was a left turn, yeah.
Well, I was gonna say
Digging into my
I didn't know.
background,
I didn't know
aren't
that.
you? Do you want me to just bend over?
we respect our guests so much. We do research on the guests. We just don't
That's
tell them that we've done any research on them.
Okay.
So
He researched me, Elliot. What did you do?
Well, but researching means probably hanging out for about 7 or 8
Yeah,
years
it's true.
with this long form research.
seen
I
your
know.
set. I've seen your comedy show. So you they say the difference between animals and us, the only difference is like opposable thumbs. Right. So a lot of animals, if they
But
like
a lot of animals have opposable thumbs.
like a dolphin doesn't.
Well, like a chimpanzee does.
He's got a point. He's got you there. Dolphin does.
Yeah.
Dolphin.
But I didn't say all. I said a lot. I said, there's a lot of monkeys with opposable thumbs.
Is that what this podcast is going to? This is what this podcast is now. We just say animals that don't have thumbs.
Opposable thumbs. Okay.
I said a fact.
Chicken.
I've said a fact.
Said facts.
Dolphins
Yes, true. Dolphins
don't
do not. No.
have, but if they did,
But they have a great ability to communicate, not just with each other, but with
they
us.
like if they had opposable thumbs, they could unlock the locks at SeaWorld, right? And now they're out, and now they're seeking vengeance. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of animals. If they
That's the only thing keeping them there. is
Right,
the
and
lack of opposable thumbs.
and what's stopping monkeys? That's what I don't understand. Because I watched Planet of the Apes, and they
Yeah.
managed to
Take over.
take over.
They reckon.
That did take thousands of years of evolution.
They reckon monkeys are in. Some monkeys are going into the Stone Age now. They think like they're going into the Stone Age. Like they've seen them use tools and stuff, and they're like, "This is the beginning of." Because they
That's
do you
amazing.
give anything to stoned ape theory?
Tell me the stoned ape.
Oh, so stoned ape theory.
Man,
I mean, I come from Holland. I've seen a lot of them.
is basically what happened was whatever our common ancestor is, or where we delved off is would eat things on the ground. And one of those things was psilocybin mushrooms, and psilocybin, like with the links in the brain, gave us creative thought and gave us the idea of consciousness. So it then, because what it does is it connects bits of the brains that don't usually talk to each other. That's why you can have a psychedelic experience where you feel something, and or it can have like quite a lot of meaning. That then suddenly, because this was going on and on, some of the monkeys were like, hold on, if I pick up this stick and do this, that's a technological advancement, and that's what humans always can be like narrowed down to, is where we technologically advance is a stage of evolution. Like you look at what we're talking about now with AI and stuff like that. You think when AI comes a thing, when we can remove consciousness from our body and put it into something else, that is the biggest bit of evolution ever, probably. Like downloading consciousness.
Well, it's an interesting theory. I like the idea of it. But then why did they never discover music?
They probably did.
Did they?
We just don't have record. They did. They just
beat
like that.
rhythm.
They didn't have
we
a
know,
studio.
But I think the study of which animals can or can't, follow rhythm is really, really
Who
interesting.
can?
I don't know. I just know that it's studied. Because birds, of course, use what we would term as music, but that's their language. That's
them,
their
that's
form of
just talking.
communication. And there's, and some of them do have the actual song where they go, I am performing this as a performative piece. But I'm not aware of any of the great apes, having a bit of
They needed
picking
to
up a
be,
stick high on mushrooms and
They
having
need
a
to
bit
be
of a
high to
drum.
do that, though.
Well, that's the idea that like over, it's like that thing. You get an infinite amount of monkeys in an infinite amount of time and give them all typewriters. Eventually, they'll write the entire works of Shakespeare.
Yeah, but that's not evolution. That's just chance, isn't it? That's
Yeah,
just...
but then we think about the amount of things going on where there was probably chance, someone, and then it's survival of the fittest, the group that is technologically advanced over this group that is able to eat more, go longer on the hunt.
If the environment is suited to technological advancement, that's what survival of the fittest is. It's fittest to your environment. If using tools and technology was not of use, then the other group would have evolved faster.
Right.
So you keep thinking of evolution as directional in a progressive state, and it isn't. It's literally random. So, for example, you have a colony of mice in a field, okay, and they're all a browny yellow. And as long as the corn is there, then they are at an advantage over their gray cousins because they can hide in the corn and not be seen by owls and other birds of prey. But they cut down the corn, or if something changes, suddenly the gray ones are. So when, for example, the Industrial Revolution came along and things became very gray and sooty, then the gray mice would be able to hide better and the bright yellow ones would be the ones that were seen. So then you would see a change in color of the population according. So it's not about... It's about who's best adapted to the environment as it stands. And actually, mice was a bad example, but they did that with moths.
Yeah.
So moths on trees, when there was no soot, they were, the ones that blended in were the ones that survived. But when the soot came, it changed the color of the population because it was the ones that looked sootier that blended in better, that were able to procreate and survive.
I love the way you say sootier. That's good.
I love that. That's what you took from that.
No, but
that was one of the most smartest things we've ever had on this podcast. I'm like, it's like, oh, you announce words funny. They didn't even say that, but I love
I like
the way
how you said black in a different way.
But two things. I also thought, like, wow, the odds of us being here in this room right now, it's pretty amazing.
We're pretty high because if you asked me, I was always going to say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
For
like
you.
all the evolution, all the sperms.
But do you give
Yeah.
any credence to like the idea of, that this is all sort of planned, like in a way of like simulation theory or anything like that? Or
No.
do you think the world's just it's all random?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm
interesting.
totally into the idea that it's all random. There's no...
You don't believe in fate?
I don't believe in fate. I think that there are probably rules of physics and things that we don't totally understand that direct things at a level beyond us or outside of us that we don't take on, because we control ourselves. Well, some people better than others, but we generally have control of ourselves. But, it's the butterfly effect, isn't it? Like one flap of a wing different, and we're affecting things all of the time. And I think that math is so pervasive in everything that happens in nature and in life and in physics, which is the rules of the universe, that you can't ignore the fact that if I do something like move this croissant or, if I take a different route home, that's going to mathematically affect a number of other things.
Because you might have taken the last croissant today, right? And now somebody has to get, because they would want to get that, and now they got something with a peanut in it, and then they die.
This is just one of your routines.
Wow, yeah.
Oh, it is. Fucking hell, I got to No, but it's related. But it's true. You could take the thing, and then somebody didn't know I had a peanut in, now they're dead. But then that person could have been beating up their family, and now that family is
One
free.
would argue, again, that if you know...
Thank God, Dad forgot he had an almond fucking peanut allergy.
Just save the family.
I saved a family.
Yeah.
No, I didn't, because I took the last croissant and someone else had a peanut.
Right, and then they died, but they were like beating up their family.
Oh, I see. I killed a
killed a bad man.
wife beater.
Yeah.
Can I just say, if that wife beater didn't know that they were allergic to peanuts,
Yeah.
like how did they get this far in life that they had no idea that they were allergic to peanuts? And if they did know, they were so arrogant or entitled as to not even check.
Maybe that's why they were beating up their family all the time. It's like they never realised someone had peanuts near them. They'll just lose it and start burying their kids.
Oh, God. She kept hiding peanuts in this suit. That's why I was angry at her.
I mean, I'll be honest. That is one easy way to get
gosh.
rid of your wife-beating husband.
But we're just talking about the butterfly effect, all these
But
things.
But I think like because simulation theory and stuff, people like give that a lot of thought. But I had this, and let me just say this: I thought of this once when I was really stoned and thought it was profound. So when I say it again, I'm aware it might come out my mouth and be one of the dumbest things that I've ever said.
That's a long list, though.
Yeah, it's a fucking long list. And
We're used to it from
and
It's endearing, if anything.
I know, this is the thing. Whenever I hang out with like intelligent people like yourself, I come out and ask really dumb questions.
No, you don't.
Like
You're
a lot-
actually very well read.
But but I'm not afraid to look
You hang
silly.
out with an intelligent person every week. You do podcasts with.
Mike, you've just I do not.
No, you're saying it like it's a rare occasion.
Right.
Every week we
Mike,
record a podcast.
I'm not saying you don't. You say some of the most emotionally profound things to me, but you have also I have like had to deal with meeting you at a train station and can describe it only as an ordeal.
Okay. Einstein couldn't
Now say
tie his
sootier.
laces.
Sootier.
Einstein couldn't tie his laces.
Yeah, but I know. But did you just make that up? I said, yeah. I was ready to believe that bit of pub-based knowledge. But what I was going to say was...
He always wore Velcro, so we'll never know.
is I had this thought one time where back in the day with religion, so like the ancient Egyptians looked at the sun and went, the reason the sun comes up is because every morning there's a giant dung beetle in the sky that rolls the sun up, and then there's another one that rolls the moon up. And that makes sense because the things around them were dung beetles, so you'd see that. So back then when you didn't know, and they also, to give them a lot of other credit, they did, they understood about the solar system and that. They
Pyramids.
weren't like pyramid. They weren't like mathematically.
I thought aliens built the pyramids.
Oh, we could get into that.
No, okay. I'm sorry. Keep going.
Mathematically, like they knew there was the sun, they knew this was at the center of a thing, but the working out of how the fuck that's there and what that is was beyond them. So the only thing around them was like dung beetle. So it makes sense to go down. I think that's what we do with simulation theory. Is we understand we're in the universe and there's all this thing going on, but we still cannot explain why or how it happened. So we look at computers and go, well, you can make things on computers. What if there's a computer so advanced it's created this? So that's just our version of
It's a modern religion.
Yeah. It's just a modern, because I'm atheist, I guess, but I can totally understand why people are religious.
I mean, you can't say atheism, I guess. Atheism is very...
I've got some spirit. I've got a spiritual side to me, but it's things that I hope for. It's a religious sort of hope thing. It's not necessarily... No,
Creamy.
nothing. No, generally, I don't like all of that.
PS5.
Yeah, the thing that I think is, like where all the universe experience itself, where you've got to lead this amount of life, so people have to go through pain, people have to go through suffering, that because this is part of the human experience, and as much as it sucks for us, for whatever the greatest consciousness of this thing is, there has to be. As well as good, there has to be very bad, and that has to be incredibly dark, and that has to also be incredibly light, and that might suck for us as a race, and we should try to do what's good, but ultimately these things are going to happen because that is part of the experience of whatever this is. And I think you can say when you die, you go back into the earth. I don't think I'll ever come back as Elliot or you as Ria or you as Michael, but you might come back as something else in it, like the energy from it. But I don't think it's a conscious thing. I think it's just part of the way things work.
I'm going to throw you another religion to consider. I'm an apatheist.
Oh, what's that?
That's someone who doesn't give a shit whether there's a God or not.
Ooh.
You're apathy. You're apathetic.
You're
towards-
nonchalant to God.
Not
You're ghosting
nonchalant.
God.
It's not. No, you're not ghosting God. It's God could exist. God might. So there are a lot of people in the world that believe that there is a God or there's a higher power or a consciousness that controls or designs or creates everything that's going on. And I'm saying it doesn't matter to me whether that is what's going on or not. I'm going to live myself the best life that I'm going to live, that I can live with. So I'm going to make moral decisions based on my internal moral compass and go, I'm going to try and be the best person I can be and only make decisions that I can live with, not because I think somebody's watching or I might get rewarded at the end of it or because somebody else said so. But because I'm going to live by my internal drive, it doesn't matter to me how or why we are where we are. We just are. We are here.
I have a question.
So why do we need to always explain? Or there's a lot of people that do need to have an external reason for things, and I appreciate that. And there's enough of them that religion has been created over and over and over again in the history of humanity. I personally don't need that. I'm comfortable enough to go, well, I am here. I am human. I will die at some point.
Okay, question based on that. You
Love
live
it.
by your own internal moral code.
Yes.
Okay, do you not think a lot of society's moral code has not been determined by religion in a lot of sense of what it is to be moral?
Well, that's not a thing. That's a fact. Of course it has, because originally religion was government, and then slowly over time we've had it. That's why America so clearly says there's a separation of church and state, because previous to 1776 that wasn't the case, especially here in the UK, where the head of the church was also the head of the state. So yes, we know that many, many legal systems were based on religion, and religion filled that gap where there was no form of governance in a lot of societies. But if you look even further back, look at your your Aboriginals in North America and how they had spirituality and law and things like that, and their laws were nature. They went, okay, we will be guided by nature and working with the earth and living with the earth in harmony, and that's what determined how they would live. Obviously, there was a lot of fighting and tribals and everything else, because humans have to, for some reason, fight.
But that's part. That's what I'm saying. It's part of the human experience. Is fucking as tragic as it is. Like, and I imagine the end goal is to get to a thing where that one day doesn't happen. But I guess my thing is I don't believe in a idea of if there is a God, he doesn't care what I'm up to. He doesn't care what sex or she or what. It's not even. It's not. I'm not. I'm just. It's not even a gender. It is a they them God. It doesn't exist in that sort of world. Like gender doesn't mean it because it doesn't have a feeling towards how we'd behave. Like that's what I always find so weird about religion is there's a God and God wants you to behave like this. I think if there is a God, it doesn't have any. It doesn't care. It doesn't care if you've killed someone. It doesn't care if you've lived your life to Christianity or Islam or anything like that.
So you don't believe in an afterlife, then, is what you're saying?
No, not at all.
You believe in a recycling of energy.
I think there might be an afterlife in level. I don't know. So, I'm interested to what people's experience have been on psychedelics and stuff, but I also think we hope for an afterlife, so we probably project that a lot more because this is finite. Like we know we're going to die, and that for humans has always been the goal is to solve that in a way. That's why when you look at Leaving Planet or the idea of AI or the idea of downloading content, if you can live forever, that is or prolong your life, that's our goal.
Because our fear is of not being. We're so self-aware and self-conscious of who we are. It creates with it, as you say, the yin and yang, and the yang is I know who I am. No, the yin is I know that I exist. So therefore, the yang is I am scared of not existing.
That's why I quite like. Is it Carl Jung or that guy whose thing is you should explore your dark side. Like if you do something bad, like yes, be sorry for it, but feel wrong, but also understand that that's incredibly human. Like you cannot have said you've lived a life without wronging someone or out doing something that is morally bad. That everyone is capable of it, and that's not to say. And to truly have control of that is to have explored that. To understand that, to know those things that go on. Now, I'm not saying you should go out there and start fucking throwing Molotov cocktails at people, but that that.
Why is that your example?
What are you saying?
Yeah.
Well, just like
You're saying you have to be bad. You're saying go out there be bad.
No, but just you can't have good without bad, and that's within every person. Like, this is an extreme example, but to some, I won't use him as an example. Pol Pot would have been nice to some people, and he was fucking awful and evil to others. But there will still be people who will be like, same. Or you notice it like
Pol Pot. That's your go-to.
Well, I didn't want to use Hitler.
Churchill. How about that?
Churchill. Okay, yeah, Churchill to British people.
Simon Cowell
Was a hero.
Simon Cowell to British people's hero. But if
did you just go from Churchill to Simon Cowell?
Well, he
terms of
changed some people's lives.
the perception of what his influence is.
I'm sick of the Simon Cowell statue being attacked
I know.
Yeah.
by Black Lives Matter.
All the damage he's done. JLS said it was way better managed, man. They had bangers.
But then, so you can't really have those. Churchill's a perfect example because even I didn't go to use him because I was raised on the thing that Churchill. It's quite a conflicting thing to me as a British person when you learn out about how bad Churchill was. It's
Africa?
In Africa, in India.
I don't know why I looked at you.
You
I'm so
know,
sorry.
I know.
I did. I turned to you
But
and
you
went,
said
back
it in
me
a
up
way-
here. Back me up against the white man. I did.
You said it in a way as like Africa, as if I was defending
You
Churchill.
don't know. Actually, I did. I also looked at you to see if you knew.
What did,
That's
you,
what
what
I-
did Churchill do in Africa?
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's all in the
Whoa.
pot. Man, this is.
Oh, I see. We're just going to leave that. Okay,
no, we
listeners,
can- we
please
can
go
go.
away, look up what Churchill did in Africa, and then come back and write in.
He was no King Leopold II. That's for sure.
Pogroms and stuff and like
Pilgrims
pogroms,
What's
like
a
work camps and stuff. He put
in
people
Africa
in. Yeah.
in the war.
I don't know. I don't know the time frame, but I do know that he's not well liked in East Africa.
Yeah,
It's a very odd thing, right? With British people, it's an odd thing like the colonisation chat because what's really weird is I know someone who went to Madagascar and they went there as like a British person and their whole thing was going to be like, oh Christ, I'm going to see all the but Madagascar was colonised by the French. And they said it was really weird. People would find out they were British and go, oh, we wish you guys colonised us because you built railroads. Like India, you built a railroad and that's great and all of this stuff. And they're like, you wanted to be like, it's like this really complicated where it's fucking evil. Like there was pure fucking evil. But this is what I'm saying. There's pure fucking evil going on with it. And then there's also this really complicated situation where some people will go, you speak to people with.
I think it was in contrast to the French, though. They weren't. I don't think they sat there and went, please colonize us. I think it was if we had to be colonized by someone,
Right.
Yes.
we can see that the British were better than.
Yeah. I'm not trying to defend the thing of colonization for any second, but I'm saying it's a complicated thing. Like as a British person that you
It's
have.
the role play you do with your girlfriend, isn't it?
Oh God.
But it is. You get dressed up and everything. The buckled shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. let me say
Playing your
this.
flag.
I'm not the British person.
Fuck you know.
I'm not
Make
gonna-
love to me like I'm Madagascar.
No, I don't do it in that voice.
Oh, I'm not doing the voice.
I'm not doing it.
I'm not doing the voice. I did the look. I looked at the black man to represent all of Africa. I have done enough bad for the day.
But yeah, but that's like to it. But because what were you like? This is again where I'm really dumb. What was your science thing? Where did you science? What did you
Where
science?
did I science?
Where did
I science?
Well, that's bad. This is what I mean when I
You
say
mean
I'm dumb.
witchology?
Pardon?
What were my ologies?
Yeah.
Okay, so I did my bachelor's in pathology, which is the study of physiology is the study of how the body works or how a system works, and then pathology is the study of that going wrong.
Oh
Which I
shit.
thought that was fascinating. And then off of that, I specialized in virology, which is the study of viruses. Which
So you helped fake the pandemic.
fake. It's all real. It's all real, my friend. Do you know how many bats I had to eat before that thing took off? Oh my gosh. I'm never having bat soup again. I'll tell you that.
do you reckon it was bad, or do you reckon it came from the lab?
Okay. I've explained this so many times, but we'll do it on this podcast as well.
Sorry.
It can be both. See, everybody thinks that if it came from a lab, it's automatically man-made, or it's been manhandled, or that's it. Time's up.
Yeah. And
mom.
we were
You
just
need to
about
take
to
your
solve.
Tic
We were
Tac.
just about to
I
solve
know.
Corona, but sorry, everyone.
The man has shut it down.
Man, just take your pills. We'll keep going. So everyone assumes when they hear lab, they think that it's been interfered with by scientists. But the fact is that the Wuhan laboratory was also a huge library of collections of swabs that scientists had gone out and collected in nature. So it is entirely possible that it did come from nature, but was kept that the library had a leak.
Right. Okay.
All right. So it's not either or. It's not that, if it came from a lab, it's definitely man-made, or it came from nature and it made its way to a wet market and it spread naturally through the populations. It could be a bit of both. It could definitely be human error, but it could be human error of someone who stored something incorrectly or took it out to look at it and didn't
That would be
wash their hands, that kind of thing. So it could be a whoopsie. But the last I read of it, and I'm not totally up to date, I will admit this, was that the closest relative was a virus that they'd found in a bat cave in Laos. So, it wasn't just in China that they were collecting things. It was all.
in Laos. Let's not do it.
Oh, you'll do everything but, will you?
No, yeah, I'm not exploring a bat cave. Whenever anyone goes, hey,
No good can come.
No good is going to come. You're not going to find 20 quid in there, right? It's never going to be. Yeah, sorry. I just think I know
You're never going to find 20 quid in
You're
there.
never going to go. Oh, I went caving in Laos in a bat
Is
cave.
that the
and then
only
just
reason you would
20
go
quid.
caving?
Yeah,
for the
but you don't.
potential-
You'd pick your day up,
There's
wouldn't
a number
it?
of reasons to go caving,
Find a score.
Find a Thai football team. You never know.
Were you pulling your hair out at the amount of misinformation at the peak of the pandemic? Obviously, being someone who was actually
I pulling my hair out at the? There was what I found it fascinating how it divided people. I mean, when we had the Brexit referendum and everything else, it divided this country pretty much 50-50. But it was along political lines, sort of, But when we came to the pandemic, it divided us again. Not entirely along the same lines. I think a lot of them fell that way. I was fascinated to see how many people were pro-Brexit and anti-vaccine. But there were also, we all had friends that we went, sorry, what, you? They just went, I'm not putting that in my body. I don't
because you
believe
had
this and that.
liberal splits and conservative splits.
Yes.
You know what
And
I mean?
it was, I found that fascinating, but I think it also explains a lot. It explains why we have a need for religion, because it explains how many people do need to be led or need to be given information from an expert source. And this is at a time right now where we've been rubbishing experts for about a decade now, where we're sick of the experts. I mean, you all know, when Edinburgh 10, 15 years ago, we relied entirely on the Scotsman coming in or Broadway Baby coming in 3 weeks. We needed those. And now it's word of mouth and it's Twitter and it's people reviews. The expert per se, the comedy reviewer has lost a lot of their power to. And the
Yes.
same thing with theater and restaurants. everybody relies. It's a numbers game. If 1,000 people on Google say that's a good restaurant, then we'll go to the restaurant. It's not down to what one man in the Telegraph has written when he, surprised them on a Thursday night.
Yeah, that's
with
an
his
excellent
presence.
point. Yeah.
So the pandemic came just at a point where we needed people to trust experts, and they had been primed not to.
But it's like that confirmation bias, because if you find one so-called expert who agrees with your opinion,
Yes.
you'll be
Well,
like, well, this is the one.
And that was the other thing, is that because it affected everybody had an opinion. Scientifically, the most research that's ever been done happened in that time period on one subject. I think we knew nothing, and now we know so much more than maybe we even know about other things, because of how many people and all governments turned resources and money towards this particular problem, which I thought, again, wasn't said enough. It wasn't said enough to people that go, oh, I'm not sure about this vaccine. The argument over and over again, this vaccine was developed too quickly. It was developed too quickly. We couldn't possibly know. And I go, this vaccine has had more trials and more people looking at it than any other vaccine in history. If anything, I trust this one more than some of the others, because where else can you trial a vaccine in real life and get real world data as fast as we were able to get it? If you think about how you're supposed to morally develop a vaccine. Let's say we have yellow fever. No, that's probably not. Just a made-up virus. So we've got B-Tech virus. We got the B-Tech virus, right? And it's a problem. We've discovered it in a small
It's a
community.
problem in British schools, all right.
Yeah, we've discovered it in British schools. It's a small problem. So we want to develop a vaccine against it. So we're going to isolate the B-Tech virus. We're going to work out a vaccine. The way that you test a vaccine is the only way to know if it actually works is to give people the trial vaccine and then send them out into the community and see if they get infected. And that can take years. You're going to obviously vaccinate some children, some adults. You want to vaccinate a wide range of people as possible. Now, if some of those people don't work in schools, they're never going to come across it. They might never. But is that because the vaccine worked or because they never came across it?
Yeah,
but
okay.
with this particular COVID vaccine, we were able to give people the trial, send them out, and we knew they were being infected. We knew they were being exposed to it. And we were able to tell very quickly whether these vaccines were effective or not. And in the thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people volunteered to help with this medicine. So people were going, oh, it happened too quickly. Also, we were in 2020. That is the most up-to-date science that we've ever had. And they kept going, even the vaccine in the 60s, it only took 4 years. It took 4 years to make. You're going, in the 60s, it took 4 years. That was too fast. I know what they had in the 60s. They were using Bunsen burners. I don't trust 4 years in the 60s more than I trust a year in 2020 with all the science that we have.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things that people just didn't take into consideration because fundamentally, they were scared, and that is legitimate. It is legitimate to be scared because we are not all scientists.
Yeah.
But to then turn around and go, I'm going to believe what Facebook tells me because Anne on Facebook knows her stuff. I've listened to her about everything else,
Yeah.
so I'm going to trust her on Facebook.
Well, it as well, I think people go hard one way and then hard another. Have we got to wrap up soon?
Sorry. Oh, yeah.
Well, we got
to the
5 minutes. Sweet.
5 minutes. Okay, let's make this funny, boys. Come on.
Okay.
I was just going to say, because I think the thing that what I looked at is both sides have, this is always my thing with whether it left or right or this, that, and the other. Both sides have a point somewhere here. And then what you find is actually there's a lot of nuance. You can have a really good discussion about it.
Yeah.
But people swing hard one way or hard the other. So it's either you look at the side where people go, well, actually, ivermectin was being used in Japan. There were people using stuff, and this, at the end of the day, this is a drugs company. They've got a product to sell, so they might have an issue. They might want to, they want to get their product out there. So we need to be careful with that, which is a fine point for I thought. And then there's also side of going I think we need to try the vaccine's a good thing. We need to do this, and there's another side going, we've got to live with it. There's all these points being made, and then within that, people would swing. People went, I've been vaccinated, I've got the vaccine, and using it as some sort of I am holier than thou because I went and got fucking vaccinated, and tweeting all about why can't these idiots just get vaccinated? And you're like, well, because they're scared. They don't understand what the fuck. They don't want to put something into their body. That's their. For me, one of the good points that was made. You can't be the left were. It was kind of kind of thing where the left were for being vaccinated and stuff. But you can't be oh, you should get the vaccine. The vaccine should be mandatory to come into places. Oh, but you know, you should do this medical thing and all of that. And then there's like the abortion argument that came into it, and the whole thing came like fucking just this crazy like sphere of thing. I don't know what my point was.
I'm guessing it's that you're not vaccinated.
I am. I'm double vaccinated.
Are you double but not triple?
I didn't
Judging you.
You've had an abortion as well. I think you've had an abortion.
I'm pro-choice. I'm pro-choice with that stuff. But I would go like, I don't understand how you can be. You need to be vaccinated to come in here, but then also like that whole argument.
Yeah, but that whole argument. Yeah, and I get that. But the other problem is that this is the thing about vaccines that scientifically it only works if the whole village gets it.
Yeah,
it's about a protective shield umbrella over the community. So if one person comes in that's unvaccinated, they put everybody else in the vaccinated place at risk.
Is there ever been a time though where like everybody was just like, right, we're just trusting the science, we're gonna do? Is that how it worked in the 60s and that, or there's always kind of been opposition? You just need to get enough people.
I don't know. I mean, it's that. I mean, we only have 3 minutes left, and you suddenly introduced the concept of the paternalization of medicine.
He always does that.
Which
that's
is
his
actually
trademark on this
it's an
podcast.
entire episode in itself to talk about how much we do or do not trust medicine, and how there was a huge thing of doctors going, "Trust me, I'm a doctor," and we did. We had a huge trust in doctors, and we call it paternalization because they tended to be male, but actually we can unravel that and see how much damage that caused. I mean, thalidomide is the perfect example. Thalidomide was trialed only on men. They only tested it on men, and then when they put it out to market, they went, "Give it to anybody," and it turns out not a good idea for pregnant women.
A lot of black people don't trust doctors because they feel like their concerns aren't listened to, especially black mothers.
With rights, but quite rightly, because if you look at a lot of medical textbooks, for example, dermatology, most of the pictures of how to recognize a dermatological condition are taken on paler skinned people. So then doctors aren't even
Don't
trained.
look at me. Don't
They're not
stare at me.
even trained to recognize it.
Plasters are white.
I
Plasters are for
didn't
white
design that to. Don't look at me. It wasn't my.
No.
This is why
Plasters have dinosaurs on them. What are you talking
people.
about?
Where are the black plasters? Not enough.
Not enough black plaster.
That's medical paternalization.
It's an
Medical
it's a perfect
baby daddies.
example. I mean, so only ever get cuts on the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet.
Exactly, man. So we can understand the sort of the mistrust.
We need to get back on Ria to discuss this like fully, because I feel like we're just at the tip of the ice. Like, this is fucking fascinating to me. Like, genuinely.
We've meandered a long way in this
No,
in this
but
chat,
like,
haven't we?
this is kind of stuff is just fascinating to me as well, because like I found like the whole. I looked at like Rogan during that, and like one point, someone made a good point about Joe Rogan is he got COVID and 2 days later was back podcasting and fine and clear and gone, and everyone was like, "What a fucking idiot!" And they were like, "And you didn't look at that guy and go, how the fuck did he do that within 2 days?" Like,
so he caught it and then tested negative in 2 days?
Yeah, he was like using like ivermectin and things like that, and also there was a thing.
Did he use ivermectin? Interesting.
And Donald Trump, when he got it, was taken to an amazing hospital in Florida where they had. Oh, it was almost, they went, "Here's the real treatment. We just can't afford to do this for everyone. But if you're the president of the United States, we've got treatment that we know works." So I think that's where, like, whenever I speak to it, like, look, I'm pro-vaccine stuff.
I thought it was slightly more experimental what he was given. I think it wasn't passed. So it wasn't passed by the FDA.
We'll save this for part 2.
Oh, yeah.
We're definitely going to do part 2.
We gotta go.
But thank you so much. Ria, where can people find you?
Online, find me, Ria Lina, RIALINA, and then just
Very busy
find
lady.
find my socials.
Fucking wicked comedian, and like they're probably the most intelligent guest we've ever. Too intelligent for this podcast.
Rubbish! You were bringing up, what was his simulation theory and the rest of it?
Oh yeah,
you did your stuff. He's talked about how he can't steal meat from the supermarket.
Should have spent less time on that.
And porn, and how much he likes enjoying watching other people enjoy making porn. Yeah.
This has been BTEC Philosophers. Drop us a like on YouTube. Follow their socials. Mike's going to be stealing me.
See you next time, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is that all finished? Wicked. That was fucking wicked. That was like,
Thank you.
like interesting conversation.